Hello everyone, so today we are talking about points, lines, and planes. So our goal for today is to be able to, if you see a line or a point or a plane, to know how to name it properly. So by the end of this lesson, hopefully we can all do that. Okay, so also what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to take these notes from Schoology and send the blank copy to Notability. That way when I say go ahead and pause the video and try these problems, you can pause the video and try those problems. So, goal, like I said, I can define and name the geometric building blocks. First one is a point. Okay, so an example of what a point will look like, voila, right? Right next to that point is there's going to be a big capital letter. Okay, so when I say capital letter, some of you write your name, let's say your name is Amy, A-M-Y. This is technically not a capital letter. Okay, it's capital in cursive, but we need capital in non-cursive. Okay, so make sure you're doing that because if I put a lowercase a, it looks like lowercase, or if I put it looks like a lowercase a if I write it that way. So for example, I could write A right there. Okay, so how are points named? One capital letter. Okay, now if you saw this in writing, it would just look like this. Okay, so when I see a single capital letter, I know they're talking about a point. All right, next one is a line. A line by definition is a straight path that has no thickness and extends forever. Any part of the line contains infinitely many points. Okay, so if I drew this line right here, also if you hold your pen still, it'll make a perfectly straight line there. If I asked you how many points are on this line, the most common and correct answer is 2. Okay, there are infinitely many points on that line. All right, so let's say this point's name is capital letter L, this is capital letter G. If I wanted to name that line, this would be line LG, and then above it, you would have to have a line above it like so. Okay, you could also call it GL with a line above it. Okay, that's the same line. Now you might also have a line, I'll draw another one right here, that either has no points on it or it does have points, but it also has a cursive lowercase letter. If there's a cursive lowercase letter, you can use that cursive lowercase letter, so or H I could say. Okay, I should technically write it in cursive, but if you have it lowercase and it's talking about that line, you know what you're talking about. Okay, so once again, you're going to use 2 points with a line on top or a lowercase cursive letter. I have this written down in the actual key to the notes, so if you need to look back at that and see, you can. All right, really quickly before we move on, let's talk about this word right here, which is collinear. Okay, this is when multiple points are on the same line. So whenever I see multiple points on the same line, I can say those points are collinear. So for example, if I had a line right here, it says draw a diagram with A, B, C, and D being collinear. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. A, B, C, and D. They're now collinear. What I could do is draw a 4th point over here and say E, and I can say E is non-collinear. So this would be non-collinear with those points. Okay, next we have a line segment. A line segment is the part of the line consisting of all the points between the 2 given endpoints. So for example, let me get out my highlighter right here. AC is a segment. So is AB is also a segment. CD is a segment. There's segment CD. So I'm going to draw it separate from this problem here. An example of what one looks like. It has 2 endpoints. It has points on the end. But like I said before, this right here is also a line segment. It has 2 endpoints. We'll call this JD. So how do I write this? So to write a line segment, you're going to use the two endpoints. So J, D, and then you're going to put a bar above it, which is the segment bar. So you don't have to put little dots on the end like some people do. It just needs to be that bar. So realize this could have also been or DJ. One thing that you can't do, let's say that there was a third point right here. This can be line segment. This segment right here is segment JD or DJ. You can't call it JAD. Never 2 points, or sorry, never 3 points. It's always the endpoints. Okay? All right. Array is our next vocabulary word. Array is a part of a line that starts at an endpoint and extends forever in one direction. So I'm going to draw two different rays. You can tell I'm at school right now recording this, hence the bell. AB. And then I'm going to name it. Okay, so this ray right here, how it's always going to start is end point first. Okay, so end point first. This is the end point. B is not an end point because it keeps going on forever and ever. So I'll say A, and then another point on the ray. And then you're always going to have the end point to the arrow. Okay, so let's say if the ray was pointing in this direction instead. If I wanted to draw AB here, okay, if I wanted to draw that, A is still the end point, B is the point it's going through. So both of these are ray AB, okay? We'll get into what can I name this one a little bit later. That's what you're going to try. So speaking of those, let's actually try a few before we move on to our other vocabulary. So here we have a diagram. So it says, consider the diagram below. List 3 ways to name the line. So go ahead and pause your video, and I want you to try at least 3 ways to name that line. Now, I will tell you there are 6 ways. You don't have to do all 6. Go ahead and pause, come back. All right, so those ways are, you could name this line AC, and then backwards also works, so CA. Line AB, line BA, line CB, and line BC. Those all work. Things that don't work, this, okay? This does not work. You can only use 2 points on the line with a line above it, okay? There is no lowercase cursive letter anywhere, so you're not allowed to use that way. All right, next one. What's the difference between saying AB versus BA? Now, it's hard to do this over a screencast because usually in class I would say, like, just read the question yourself and then write down the difference between the two because this is not AB. It's ray AB, all right? But I want you to see that on your own. So this is ray AB. This is ray BA. The difference between the two, you can write it in words or you can draw it. Go ahead and pause the video, try that yourself. All right, you should have the difference between the two. I'm going to draw a picture. I think it's the easiest. Okay. This first one here says the endpoint is A and it goes through B. The second one here, I'm going to draw it in the same direction here. Says the endpoint is B and it goes through A. Okay. Now realize this one could have also been drawn this way, but B is still the endpoint and A it still goes through. This blue one here, this one right here, could have been drawn this way also. But A is the endpoint, it goes through B. And I always put them on an angle, but they could be horizontal or vertical also. Okay, next one. Which contains more points, line AB or segment AB? Go ahead, pause your video, write down your answer. Okay, the answer is, there is no answer to this, okay? This line has an infinite amount of points. AB segment AB also has an infinite amount of points. So if I asked you how many points are on this line, once again, most people will say 2 on accident, but there's an infinite amount in between those two, okay? So you could either say neither, or they both have the same amount. Okay, last part here, and we're done. All we have to talk about is planes, okay? So if we were in class, I would ask you to look around the room and tell me examples of what are planes in the classroom, okay? What you could say is the top of my desk, the top of your desk, the walls, the floor, the ceiling. These are all flat two-dimensional surfaces that extend. Ours don't extend infinitely far, but in theory, that's what we want them to do. All of the diagrams we will draw this year will take place inside of flat planes, and we have to represent them somehow. If they're extended infinitely, I can't draw an infinite object on paper, right? So we confine it to a box, okay? So identify 6 planes that you can see in this classroom. That obviously doesn't pertain to us, so try 6 different planes in your room. I will tell you right now what I see in the classroom. I see my desk, I see your desk, I see the wall, I see the ceiling, I see the floor, I see the blackboard, I see the whiteboard, I see my iPad, I see my computer laptop, just the screen. These are all planes. Okay, next one. When we name lines, it is so that we have an easy way to refer to them. This is also important with planes since they can be named differently. Okay, so how do we name planes? We use 3 non-collinear points. So 3 non-collinear points. Okay, now remember what non-collinear means. Non-collinear means they cannot be on the same line. Okay, so what I tell students is an easy way to get these points is to look at the plane, pick 3 points. If they form a triangle, it works. If they don't form a triangle, then it won't work. Okay? Another way you can do this is using a capital cursive letter that's in one of the corners. Okay? So capital cursive in corner. Okay, so this is an or right here. So let's do an example of each here, okay? So let me ask you a question. Could a person name this plane A, B, C? No, because those 3 points are collinear. So if I get rid of that C right there, can this person name it A, B, D? Yes, this plane can be named A, B, D. It can also be named DBA or BAD or ABD, or you can be using C, D, and E or C, B, and D. But notice it's just the 3 letters, okay? There's no word plane in front of it. There's no symbolage. Now, this particular plane doesn't have any cursive letters, but let's say that there was a cursive letter, okay? So let's say that there was a cursive letter R in this corner right here. So this plane could also be named plane just cursive letter R, okay? And it could be in any of the corners. Okay, so just a couple other things that we need to know here. 2 different lines. Whenever you have 2 lines that intersect, they're always going to meet at a point. Okay, so if I say find the intersection of this line and this line, the answer is a point. And then also planes coincide, which means they overlap. If planes coincide, I can't talk. If planes coincide, which means they overlap completely, that could happen. They can intersect, or they can miss each other entirely. Okay. So this says look at the list above and classify some of your answers you gave below, okay? So let's talk about planes that coincide would be just like 2 pieces of paper that are on top of each other. Planes that intersect, okay, that could be the wall and the floor, or the wall and the ceiling, okay? Planes that miss each other completely would have to be 2 parallel planes. So that would be the floor and the ceiling. Okay, also what you should see is that if 2 planes do intersect, they intersect at a line, Okay, so right here, and some people say, like, isn't it a segment? Remember, planes go on forever and ever, theoretically, so it's a line. All right, name a pair of planes which intersect. So we already said this, which would be the wall and the floor. Name a pair of planes that do not intersect, the floor and the ceiling. Okay, I could also go as far as to put points on these planes here and try it that way. So I can say that this is point A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is E, F, G, H, I, like so. Okay, so I can say name a pair of planes which intersect, and then I can use this right here, but I like the ones that we did before. Okay, if I was going to say planes that intersect here, I could say plane A, B, D, right? So A, B, D. And if you're like, they don't form a triangle, it's on an angle, so if I want to say A, B, E instead, just to make sure I don't confuse anyone, that's fine. And then this plane right here, I can call H-I-F. H-I-F. Those two intersect. Okay? All right, so usually in class what we do is I have you pre-rate yourself. How do you feel about these topics? Post-rate yourself. It's a good idea to do that. So let's just go ahead and rate yourself on how you feel about these topics. Remember, you could always look back at the notes key if you forgot how to name something as you're working on the homework, or you can rewatch the video, rewind it, do whatever you please. Okay, go ahead and get started on your homework.